Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm Brendan Lee. In this video I want to talk to you about deeper emotional reactions. So now this comes up, I've changed my location again. I'm getting ready to do a fall retreat here, so I've moved my shooting location back into my office space. And I wanted to dig in with you about some of the deeper emotional reactions that we experience, and not so much like what the reactions are, but perhaps the fact of their existence. And this part of the inspiration from this video is from me noticing and working on myself and investigating my own mind and noticing that I got shit going on. And as far as I can tell, other people have shit going on. Now, what do I mean by stuff going on or crap going on? I mean that there's like aspects of my personality that do not function as well as they could, or that are reactive, or programming, what I would call old programming from like way back, but then it's like gotten mixed up in my life to where certain things can occur in my life that then trigger this programming, and I'm back in this other world that doesn't relate to what's going on, but it's trying to relate to what's going on, but it's like old stuff. You know, perhaps in the psychological domain, they might call that trauma or something like that. And so I wanted to acknowledge these, what I'm calling deeper aspects of mind, and also dig in with you a little bit and consider like what's the deal there? What's the deal? That's perhaps what I want to know. First of all, we can acknowledge, as far as I can tell, I got problems, you got problems. I have never seen a human being that doesn't have some kind of crap going on. Not a one. Not a single one. Ever. Myself included, ever. Everybody's got shit. Now, and what I think makes a difference is how you can't control necessarily, well, okay, I'm not going to say that you cannot control the stuff that you have, but that stuff that's very automatic, very programmed, very hard to deal with, very hard, difficult to stop, that stuff that like has you can't necessarily control that it's there, but you can control how you relate to it, and that makes a huge difference. Or perhaps you can control the very existence of these, what I'm calling deeper mind, or what we call in the consciousness work we do here, unrecognized mind. And then in some other domains, I want to make another distinction with you about like these deep feeling reactions. All right? And I think I can dig into the feeling reactions is more where I want to go in this video. I do hold that it is possible for a person to stop that stuff, to end it, to transcend it, to become free. Do I think it's easy? No. Do I think it's possible? Yes. Could you do it? Sure, why not? Does it need to take 20 years in therapy? No, I don't think so. And therapy might not even work with this. I don't know. But so let's see, where do I want to go with this video? I wanted to consider with you, like, and ask you maybe, what's the deal, say? It seems my mind works in such a way that I have intellectual stuff I've got going on, right? So what I would call surface level. Like, intellect is very surface. It can do things like mathematics. It can have really deep thoughts about physics, and I can get very intellectually stimulated and do things, right? This is intellect. I could even recognize a part of myself, a different part of myself that I'm like, oh, I don't like that one. Say something comes up like a big feeling and like I don't like this. And I can recognize from one aspect of my experience, I don't like this other aspect of my experience. I want it to go away, perhaps. And then what most people do, usually they only think they have two options, either to act out the thing that's happening, blah, like I have this feeling, sensation, something wrong, I don't like it, blah, it comes up, and I act it out. Well, screw you and the horse you rode in on and blah, 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 blah. Or I have this thing come up and I go, nope. I try to pretend like it's not there. I go, no, I'm not going to react this way. So it pops out somewhere else. I try to suppress it there like everything's fine. And then mental breakdown or whatever, and I then go to therapy and it pops out somewhere else. Now, so then what do? I've run into this conundrum many times, and in certain aspects of my mind that were extremely powerful, extremely reactive, extremely painful, emotionally painful, not your normal kind of pain. What do? How do you deal? Well, acting it out doesn't really solve the problem. That's usually an attempt to, it's like, oh, I've got this feeling, I need to do something about it, so I act it out, but it never really makes the problem go away, the initial problem, which is like it comes across like a feeling sensation or a significantly altered state, which is more sensed, it's more felt than thought, which then we could then consider our definition of thought, like, well, what is a thought then? But I'm not going to go there right now. It's felt, like, something's just dreadfully wrong. I need to get out of here, for example. My life is terrible. Everything hurts. I need to leave. Right? So then I leave, but then I go to a new location. And then what happens? Well, things are good for a while, but then stuff starts to get a little weird again. And then and then pretty soon I'm unhappy again, and then what? I need to leave again. And then so I act this out, just say, maybe you see how the pattern continues. And then I get hurt, unhappy, sad, I leave, oh, it's good, and then I get hurt, unhappy, sad, I leave, and on it goes for 30 years. And so I think that trying to get something going out here or changing my environment is somehow going to fix me, and it never does. Or, like I said, I suppress it all. Those two options. And then, but then what do you do if you actually want to make it change? Make it change for real. Suppression doesn't work. Acting it out doesn't work. The first thing to do, I would recommend, is full acceptance, full on responsibility for your experience. You are the one who's experiencing that. Accept yourself as you are, like that. Oh, I've got this shit going on. And then you can begin to take a look at that stuff. Now, some of the deeper stuff that I've encountered comes across very much like a felt thing. Like, I just feel wrong. And I don't know why. Like, I'm just wrong. The people that I love that are around me could tell me something. It doesn't matter. They could tell me they love me and I'll feel wrong. I could go to the grocery store and pick up the grapes, and because I pick up the grapes, somehow they're the wrong grapes and I'm somehow wrong for wanting grapes. And what I've noticed for me, so right, if we're tracking and you're tracking with me, you're wanting to get free of this stuff, my first thing is accept it. And then you can start to look at it. Because if you reject what's there in your experience, then you will tend to push away or ignore what is there, and that ignorance will be like, it will be an avoidant place. Kind of like if there's a room that you avoid going in, for example, do you know what's in that room? Likely not. Why? Well, because you avoid going in the room. See how that works? If you avoid going in the room, you're not going to go in there. You're not going to know what's in there. So the first thing to do is let the room be there, kind of thing. Oh, I've got this whole aspect of myself. I really hate it. I don't want to look at it. Well, try accepting that aspect first. I have a video on acceptance. Check it out. Might be worth your while. Just check my previous videos. And then let it be there. Then take a look. What's going on? How come that feeling? Now let's see. Now let's see if we can break it down even further. Because what normally happens, as far as I can tell, when people are going to go looking at a feeling like that, they want to know why it's there. And when they go, why is it there? They tend to go, as far as I can tell, take a look yourselves, toward an intellectual explanation. An intellectual explanation, perhaps from the psychological world or from books that have been read or something. And it comes, but it's focused in the intellect. Or, why do you feel this way? Well, or they'll go to a story, which is again an intellectual concept. This happened, I have a memory when I was a kid, and then this happened, and da-da-da-da-da, and because of this and that, and then all these other people were the wrong kind of people, and then bam, and now I'm like this forever. But again, that does not free you from the problem. If the problem still persists after the intellectual explanation and after the story, then what do? Riddle me that one. I know, I try to riddle myself that one. Okay? What do? Shit, nothing's working. I can't change my environment. That doesn't work. Telling stories about it doesn't work. Psychological explanations aren't helping because I still have the problem. I don't get it. What do? How do I get at that stuff? So now here's some stuff that I have discovered thus far in these domains. One, the deeper stuff for me is very felt. It is a feeling. It is a feeling of like, I am just wrong, say. So in order to change the feeling, you have to change the feeling where it is, not a thought about the feeling. You have to change the feeling. And feelings do not change with intellect. They change with feeling. So, but then how do you do that? One, here's a hypothesis, or here's something that I'm considering for myself, and I'm pretty certain of its validity, at least in my own experience, where the feelings, consider your body, for example. If I'm kind of hard for me to explain, perhaps. Say you say something to me, my feelings get hurt. You say something to me, my feelings get hurt. So now, right away, we say, well, you are the cause of my feelings getting hurt. But if you say something to somebody else, and they don't get hurt, that means that it's not the person hurting. That it's not you hurting me. If you say blah blah ginger to me, I get hurt. You say blah blah ginger to somebody else, they go, huh? And they do not get hurt. It's not the you saying the blah blah ginger that hurts me. It's something that I have going on in relationship to blah blah ginger. You say something to me and I'm relating what I perceive to myself. And there's something about myself that is wired up to be hurt whenever somebody says blah blah ginger. Whereas somebody else has a different makeup. You say blah blah ginger to them, they do not get hurt. See, so that means there's a third component. That means there's what I perceive. Then there is my feeling reaction to that perception. But the only way that feeling reaction gets to exist is if that my perception is then related to something else, as if. There's a third thing. There's something else going on, because are you tracking? There's not just two. There's not just what you say and how I feel. Where do the feelings come from? If we rip you off of the intellect and the story, then the feelings don't come from intellect. They don't come from story. They come from something else. And it's not external. It's internal, as if. So then I think the first task, if you want to get at some of this challenging stuff, one, you recognize the feeling, you let it be there, and then start to open up and consider, well, what's the third thing that's being related to in your experience? There's a missing link. I'm sure I'm very, very sure this is redundant at this point. I've done another video where I explain something like this, or look into it. And then the job becomes to discover the third thing. The thing that it's like you perceive, I perceive reality a certain way. And then because I perceive it a certain way and I relate what I perceive to myself, that's the third thing, the unknown aspect, I have a feeling because the feelings are a reaction to something. Feelings don't just like arise on their own. In this case, these types of feelings, it's like a pre-programmed reaction to something. So if you hold that these deeper feelings are not the thing that is wrong, they are a reaction to something that is wrong. The something that the feelings are in reaction to is not itself a feeling, it's where the feelings come from, or it's what allows for the feelings to exist. For example, and this we have a word for this in the consciousness work that we do here. We call this your unrecognized mind, or source assumptions, what you assume to be true about you or about life or about reality, that then you relate to this assumption and then usually forget that you assumed it, and it lives in the background, which is to say you don't see it anywhere. All you see is what you perceive as real and then your reactions to it, and that's all you need. You never look to the assumption, the originator of the feeling. We always search for the feelings. Okay, so now with some of this deeper stuff, it really feels impossible sometimes for me. Okay, it doesn't feel impossible, but it feels damn close to impossible to get at it. Because it's so strong and it's so automatic and it's so, even worse than that, it literally will alter my perception of reality as if. And so like say I hold that people are totally threatening to me, then guess what I will see? I will see people as a threat. Whereas if I hold that people are not a threat, then this is what I assume to be true of people. You see how this can happen, or how this could happen. I assume this to be true of all people, therefore my view of people will be seen like that. So then I would need to then somehow grasp the assumption and stop assuming that to be true, and then all of a sudden I don't see people as threatening anymore. But the one challenging aspect of this is that if I've practiced seeing people like this for 30 years, it's kind of hard to undo, kind of like you can't undo reading things that you see as text. And that's something you learned, but you see how strong that is. So it can have that kind of strength. All right, so then if I were to take on changing some of this stuff, again, reiterating, first thing to do, accept it, let it be there. Recognize what's going on and then start to investigate what's going on, and then remember to avoid the intellect, and I stay focused on the feeling itself. And so I would meditate and or contemplate on the feeling. And where is the feeling usually located? Somewhere in the body. So I might consider this massive sensation in my body and then try to open up to discovering, well, what is really going on here? What could I be assuming is true of myself, others, life, reality, how I need to be, what I think my parents are? Because again, I do think a lot of this stuff is relationship to parents. And what I mean by that is like the relationship that I have with my parents that I built up over years, that's how I form up the world. They're like the other. And so when I'm forming myself, I form myself in relationship to like primary others. And well, what models have you got when you're a kid? You either have parents and those parents show up a certain way, or you have a lack of parents and then whomever else is there, that becomes your parent perhaps. And so that's the formulation of the person becomes related to that. So these can be very charged, very good, very fruitful places to look. And then open up to discovering, well, what do you really hold as true about reality such that that reality is showing up? You see, like, and it can be tricky. It can be really tricky. So I don't know. That's what I would do. Start there. Now, it can be useful for example, I had an experience semi-recently where I was in a bit of a state, and I was talking to another individual, and they talked to me, and we were able to talk in such a way that they understood where I was coming from, and they could talk to me such that the turmoil that I was in mentally and emotionally was able to lift, but then I was also able to see clearly, oh my God, here's what I'm doing. Like, I think I need to be like this because I see you this way. I think I am this way in relationship to you. And I was able to see, oh, I think I'm this way, but I'm actually not that way. Oh, and then I can, like, as if change who I'm being. And that automatically changes how I show up. But then in order to change who you're being, it becomes useful for you to discover who you are being. So then it goes back to acceptance and investigation and wondering about, like, who are you really being? Who are you showing up as? And then also, what do you think is true about reality such that you show up like this? What do you think is true of others such that you show up like this? What do you think is true of What do you think is true such that these feeling reactions, like, oh my God, everything is just wrong and I'm wrong all the time, like, where is that even coming from? You see, and then continue. So now some other things that I think might be useful there. If you need it, go see a therapist. These things can help because you've got another mind that is trained in that to help you bounce off of and help the investigative process, help you see things perhaps. I am not a therapist, so you should not take any medical advice from me at all, just putting that out there in case there's a problem. And then you can also enter into deep questioning of your own reality and your own self, and be open to discovering things. Because if you can discover as if the real source of this stuff, you may find that it is not something that is permanent. It is not something that has to be there, and it can change, and it's something you're doing, and perhaps you can find out where you're doing it, so then you can simply stop that. And then you don't have to be living with that anymore. Yeah, that's the possibility I stand on. But yeah, I do want to acknowledge full on that these deeper aspects of mind, what we call like the unrecognized mind, some stuff gets formed up and it is just raw, powerful, automatic, very painful, disrupts how one conceive one's ability to perceive reality accurately, and even to it can just create all kinds of messes that can occur in relationship to this particular stuff, what I'm calling deeper mind, like these very automatic old programs that don't serve anything. And then so I wanted to acknowledge that and also invite you, if you have this stuff going on, you can investigate it, you can consider, and perhaps get free. So there you go. That's it for this video. I'm Brennan Lee. Check the links in the description. You're invited to come to a workshop. We do powerful consciousness workshops. Links are all in the description. If you want to write to me, hit me up in the comments. Write to me an email. Hit me up on the forum. Much love. Take care. Till next time.